If you're one of those people that want to make a game like Gris and don't know where to start, how much does it cost, how many people you need, and how long it takes for you to make a game like Gris, come with me. I'm Elle, a producer who wants to help you make your own project and reveals the secrets behind making CGI projects. And here is Analyzel. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. The story I want to tell you is about a game called Gris. Gris is a 2D adventure platform game made by Studio Nomada. And as many of you may know, I have an Instagram account and I just ran a poll there. Ask you about what kind of project do you like that I analyze them and tell you how they made. This was one of them that honestly I didn't know about this game, and I just went and checked it on Google. The first glance for me was I just fell in love with the beauty of the pictures, and then I attempt to play it. I attempt to buy the game and play it. I played it on Steam, but I know that it's available on PlayStation, Xbox, and also Nintendo. The game price is about $17. If you ask me about if it's worth it or not, I'm telling you that definitely if you go for Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, wherever you buy and pay it, that worth it. You will enjoy it. Whether you're a competitive game player like me, or even you like just to play a game for its beauty and love to play a chill game, you want to play it, you want to check it, and you want to have a chill time and chill moment playing it. So let's go see what's going on in this game and what we want to talk about. The first thing we're going to talk about is that how this game is made, and then we're going to learn that I believe the first step is to know what kind of a game this Gris is, and then we go for how this kind of game are made and who works for them, and how much does it cost for a company to make such a disc game. Then the other step is that as I am a producer, when you show me any project, any game, any animation, regardless of enjoying the project or not enjoying the project, I go and check the budget. I go and check, guess how many people work, and it's kind of like a practice that I'm all the time doing when I see a project. So, and as it is a management channel, I tell you about some tips and tricks of management. Let's start with some information about the game, and then we go to see if we want to make this game, if you own a small studio, if you plan to make a game like this, what you should expect and plan. So the first thing is to know some small information about the game. The game is made by Studio Nomada, Nomada Studio, sorry, and the publisher is Devolver. I know that the Nomada Studio is a small studio based in Spain. There are three people that founded this studio. Two of them were a game developer, and one of them is a very well-known Spanish artist having so many exhibitions, and the art of the Gris is based on his art. And mainly, Gris is his idea to make, and I will share you some videos that they're telling a story, how they decided to make this game, how they gather all the information, and what this idea and where this idea comes from.
As Joan says, I'm Adrian Cuevas. I'm the technical director and one of the founders of Nomada Studio. But when I studied here in Barcelona. I studied my university here. My first work was actually as a biomechanical engineer. I was working in motion capture for that biomechanical analysis. And I decided that I wanted to do video games, so basically I quit and I went to England looking for a job. And my first job was in Brighton, where I was working for Buzz. A lot of people don't know, in Europe was kind of a big thing. It's an interactive TV show that you play in the PlayStation with these big red buttons and colors. And after that, I had a chance to go to Ubisoft Montreal. I worked in Far Cry 3 for more than 2 years. Then I went to Denmark, where I work in the Hitman franchise. And finally, I came back to Barcelona. I started working in Ubisoft Barcelona again. And here I work in several games. Probably the most important one is Rainbow Six Siege. Then briefly, I will introduce you my two partners. One is Roger Mendoza. He studied in Barcelona with me. That's where I met him. And he has worked in Ubisoft Montreal for like almost 6 years. He worked mostly in Assassin's Creed and also some white skateboarding and also Rainbow Six. And the third part of this team is Conrad Rousset. He's a renowned artist from Barcelona. Well, he's actually from Terrassa. And he has been working with big advertising companies for a while. He has done some adverts for Adidas, Nike, Disney, Coca-Cola, so a lot of things. But probably his most well-known exhibition has been this work. It's called Musas. And it has been exhibited all over the world. It has been exhibited in London, San Francisco, Los Angeles, pretty much everywhere. And the thing is that he never worked in video games, but he always had an itch for it. He liked a lot playing video games. And like most of the good adventures in life, our adventure started in a bar. That's what it happened. Basically, I had to go to Montreal again for 4 months to work in Rainbow Six, and I was doing like a farewell party. And by chance, we met with a friend that was celebrating her birthday party. And Conrad was one of the guests of the birthday party. But we didn't know him. Basically, we sit all together, and by chance, we set Roger, me, and Conrad together and start talking. And basically, Conrad told us that he always wanted to make a video game, but never did it before. So he was looking for people to help him do it. And to be completely honest with you, we were quite drunk. So I thought, this is going nowhere. I'm going to Montreal in 2 days. Let's forget about it. But I was saying yes, obviously, but yeah. Luckily for me, Roger stayed here in Barcelona and kept talking with Conrad. And 4 months after I came back, oh yeah, I forgot, by the way, this is the first draw that Conrad did of the game when we were in the bar. He drew that in a paper, and he said, I want to make a game where the colors are very important. And I want to start, yeah, you can see. Yeah.
Up until this time that I'm checking the Google, the gross revenue is $50 million, means that the game sold $50 million without deducting taxes, the share of developer and other shares that you should consider. But the gross revenue is $50 million. Also, I mentioned about publisher. And if for those of you that don't know what a publisher does, a publisher could be someone, could be your own studio, could be another studios, could be very big, could be very small, depends on a studio that they have. And what they do is to help you to publish your game on platforms. Also, they can lend a hand on making your game through running campaigns, having marketing strategies, and some of them would help you with their team of developers that you can easily make your idea. Depends on a publisher you reach out. They have different ways of negotiation. They have different ways of reaching out to them. But the thing is, you can go on some of on their website to pitch your project, or you can go to expos, festivals to meet them there and show your prototype and pitch your project to attract their attention. What they did, I believe that they went to Gamescom, and Devolver at that time their Devolver decided to make their game. So I believe the good decision that they made. So for making a project like Gris, and now we're going to talk about how we can make a game like Gris. For making a project like Gris, and any project, any product that you want to bring it to the stores, you have to have a roadmap. The roadmap shows your navigation from one step to another. And for a game like Gris, for a 2D side scroller with the no narration, so you will go for this kind of road. First, you have to plan what you want, you have to see your goal, then you have to make your prototype, pitch it to the publishers or sponsors. After having the money, start the production, which starts with pre-production, and then go to the production. The game like Gris, it's a one-shot game that will finish when the launch finish. And when you buy the game, you play the game, you shouldn't expect any patch or any refinement on the game. For this game, as also is something that you have to sell, the marketing is an important part of the game. If you're making animation, it kind of differs because you have to go to the doors, pitch your project, then you just release it on the media and people watching it. So they don't pay to buy your animation, and by watching it and the number of watchers, you will earn money, or already the sponsor or the company that ordered you paid you the money. But for the game, when you're making it, it's kind of like a product that you have to have planned for selling it. So the marketing is one of the most important part of your game, as alongside the gameplay and game design that you want to have. This is the roadmap of such a this game. If you want to access to these files, I will share them on my website, that you can have access to the better quality of the photos that I'm sharing and talking about them here. And then let me walk you through some details about whatever we talked, and I believe that they are important to know. The first step for me is to know about the prototype. When you're talking about making a game or a product, you have to have a sample to go to publisher and show it to them. And as you're making a game, and gameplay is important, so you on your prototype, in your prototype, you have to have part of a gameplay. Also, you have to show the main story of the game, and I'd say the ace part of your game, that you know that it attracts the attention and the eyes and ears of the publishers and sponsors to you, to want to spend their money on your game. So you're making a prototype with a gameplay and part of a story, and then you will go for pitching it. Together we're going to watch Gris prototype. See, this is very beautiful and it has all the stories inside. The gameplay, you see that there's no narration, it's very simple, and then you will go through a dark moments to a very brightful and colorful. Yes, now that you're making a prototype, as I already told you, you should go to pitching. I talked about publishers, that who they are and how you should reach them out for pitching your project. Pitching a project has its own techniques. You have to be a good negotiator. You have to tell your story very well, in that attract their eyes and ears and attentions. And also, you have to have your prototype, your budget planning, and timeline planning alongside, to show the developers to show the publishers that, okay, I'm going to make this with this amount of money and with this number of people, and it would take that amount of time. Also, one important part that you should know when you pitch your project is, when you go to the publisher's door, you should convince them that your idea is very good for that platform that you have in your mind, and also with that style that you want to make. For example, you have a game like Gris. It's a girl passing through the story of a dark moment to a colorful moment. So they decided to make it as a 2D game. They had to convince the publisher that why they believe that it's good to make it 2D. Why should it be side scroller? And also, what's their plan for that? And if they think that that kind of game would just people would come and purchase was for this game at this style, so you have to convince your publisher for the platform you want, for the style that you want, and after that you have to convince them for the price or the budget that you have in your mind. Hopefully you will get the money in your pocket and go and make the project. And now that you have the money, you go to produce your game. So the first step, as I've already told you, is the pre-production. As you see here in this pipeline, the process are shown like this. Before I'm going to next step, I'm going to share some information about pipeline with you, that what is a pipeline and why we making it. When we go to the production, we need to know each step that we want to go and their interaction with each other. What part has the back and forth with another part? Which step we should go first and what step we should go after. So it means that we should prioritize each step or steps that are doing alongside each other and see what's their relation, how can they relate to one another. And then by having a map that we call it pipeline, we can understand where we were and where we are now and where we're going to go. So a pipeline game like Gris would be something like this. Again, I will put the file for you on my website. Then as we're coming to pipeline and you show some steps here, I want to go deeper inside and tell you about some parts in the pipeline. The first step is pre-production, contains script and a story, storyboard if you feel it's needed, game design, which is very important part, and also the concept design. We know that we can write our script and do the storyboard alongside the concept art, and then we can go making our games design. Be careful that I'm telling you here that there are some parts should be done at the same time or could be done at the same time, and there are some parts that you should finish it and go to the next step. In the next steps I will tell you that why I'm telling these to you, that why I'm insisting and mentioning these parts for you. So the first step is the script. What is a script and what it contains, and why should we have a script for the game, for every project, every CGI project that we want to make. So after we just made a decision about the story, we have to turn into the script. The script shows information to us. Like what? Like the act, characters in each act, environment, and assets. But for us as a manager, it helps us to make our first draft out of a script. So we make a table and then we write down each detail we find in each act on the script. This script that I'm showing you here is not for Gris, it's for another game. I found it on Google, but it has the information that I'm telling you, and you can take it as a sample. So the next step could be the storyboard. If you want to make a storyboard for your game or not, I'm telling that it's good to make storyboard for the game, especially for the cutscenes. The picture that I'm showing you here is not a storyboard, it's a color key. I couldn't find any storyboard shots of Gris to show you, but the difference is the storyboard is normally in black and white, and the information that the script has inside, the storyboard has inside is what characters are in which shot, what characters, what assets, what environments would we see, and also if we have a closer shot, longer shots. These are the information that as a manager you need to be careful about when you're planning your project. The longer shot that you have, the more assets and environment you want to show, but the less detail you have on your camera. But when you go closer to characters, environments, and assets, so you go to the more detail of everything. When you take a look at the script and when you take a look at the storyboard, you need to be careful that there are some assets and characters closer to the camera, and there are some assets and characters that farther to the camera. So you have to prioritize it that those objects are closer should be made with more details and with more care than the others that have distance from the camera. And also, when you make a storyboard, if you don't have an animatic or gray boxing for your game, gray boxing is something like rough layout and previews in animation. If you don't have a gray boxing for your game, also you need to be careful that a storyboard shows you where the light goes and the shadows go. And as you know, the shadows are dark, and the items and objects under the shadows are not seen very carefully and very perfectly. So again, when you prioritize the task and prioritize the items and assets, you need to be careful that the priority of making the objects in a long distance under the shadow is way lower than an assets and objects when they are closer to the camera under the light. So you made your first draft out of a script, and then you will refine it based on your storyboard if you be lucky and your team make a decision to make the storyboard. If I was any of producers in the world, I would do this, definitely would put it on my pipeline. It shows a lot and prevent a lot of waste. So alongside that, I was telling you that the concept design is doing, yeah, that people, the concept design is done. So concept has information about how environments, assets, characters all look like, and we can see them all together to have an idea about our final look. And hopefully, as it is a 2D game, so you will have your final look on your concepts. So the next important steps that a game has is game design. I'd say a game means nothing without a game design. Why? You're playing a game. You're selling it for people to play it. So simply, you have to plan your game design. You have to plan your asset on your game. You have to plan your puzzles, missions, and side missions that you have. The interaction of characters with the environment and whatever other stuff that you have. Together, we're going to watch game design of Gris, which I believe that it's very beautiful and has lots of information inside.
For example, when you get the heavy ability, the girl is able to break stuff and it's heavy and it can break floors and jars. So that's when it's linked to the more anger phase of the girl. Or if you go to the dive ability, that dive ability is when it's in the lowest point, when it goes to the depression. You go into a cave, it goes to deep in the world. So that was our way to showing this. But then we have our biggest challenge of all, which is not having death in the game. When you have these beautiful concept arts, and you have jumping on the rocks, blah, 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 but then what happens if you fail and you cannot die? So that was a really big challenge for us when we were designing levels. We have to make a game that the failure was not dying. You don't have points. You don't have time. Basically, you have to, and you still have to do these beautiful things. So what we end up doing is doing a lot of contraptions and trying to design the levels properly. So if you fail, you can always come back. This is, for example, one of the ideas that we had for this area. If you fail, there is a floor there, and there is a contraption that brings you back. And as soon as you are up, it gets out. So at least you still see the clear and clean concept art. This is, again, another example. We are in the sky. It's all beautiful, stars. But if you fail, There is a floor there that appears with the lights. This is a main mechanic in the game in that level. There is architecture that appears just with light. So we do all these things. But it's very challenging when you design a game with no depth. Really, really challenging. Then creating the puzzles, that's very important. We were creating a lot of puzzles with the mechanics, and then trying each puzzle separately first, and then trying to do a combination of all of them, and quickly prototype them. Even if it's a really ugly prototype like this. Oops. But it's really important that you try the game as much as possible, because for us, we wanted a lot of people that never play video games to try these prototypes and told us if it was too hard. But also people that play video games and told us if it was too boring. So basically what we did is, if we found some of the puzzles really hard, but still we like them a lot, what we did is creating these optional challenges. So when you are playing the game, there is what we call a collectible. And if you want, if you feel that you can do it, you can do all these harder puzzles, and you will achieve a collectible. And when you get all the collectibles at the end of the game, this special reward for this.
So yeah, we learned a lot. Now it's time to go step into the production and learn about details in production. The first step, which is very important in a 2D game, is animation. So you're gonna go make a 2D keyframe animation, which breaks down to rough, tie down, clean up, ink, and color. Normally, when we go to making a 2D animation, the rough and tie down part is done with some animators, and the color and ink would go to the next step and other animators. If you want to know the detail and steps and how to prioritize the tasks of animation, it's better for you to know that you can divide the animation to two parts of the rough and tie down and clean up to color. And also you can do it at the same time, and you can make a parallel to be done simultaneously. While people are making the rough tie downs, for example, after 1 month or after 1 week, you will go start your ink and color. Depend on the speed of your rough and tie down people that making. And you better know that it's especially the rough is a time demanding part of your project. So it needs, when you're taking care of your timeline, you need to know that a big chunk of animation goes to rough. Big chunk of your timing that you have for your animation goes to rough, and also then rough and tie down. And then cleanup could be part that you need to consider time, but not as much as the rough. And then ink and color are the parts that could be done very quickly and in very short amount of time. Think about it when you make your timeline. So the next step, when we may hopefully making our animation, is making a level design. The environment, the mission, the part of a mission that the character goes to is a level. So contains the act, the assets, the action, the part of story that every time character goes to. So for example, if you have 5 acts, you may have 5 levels or even more, depends on the mission that you have. But what is inside of each level is environments and assets of the environment, and also the effects and also the atmosphere that your level designer make in the game. That the direction team made the decision that what kind of atmosphere exists on those acts. So a level designer is responsible for making the levels, for putting the assets, making the atmosphere, checking the interaction of the character with the levels, and make sure that everything goes well. But after doing all of that, the programmer would come and help the level designers to connect the action of animation to the levels. And then when we put together all these parts, the programmers bring their codes. The level designers bring their assets, and the animation give us the animates. So we put them all together and make an act. And then we send it to the playtesters to play it and tell us if it worked or not. What are the problems and what do they suggest to make that act better? Alongside all of that we talk, which are the game, there are some parts in games that the player just watch, enjoy, or understand the mission. It's called the cutscenes. Normally, cutscenes are animation. We call them in-game animation or sometimes in-game cinematics. Depends on how we make it. Sometimes we make the cutscenes inside the engine, or sometimes we get it out and make it in just like an animation and put it alongside our game. Now that we have them all and we're testing all together, there is a part simultaneously started from the beginning and doing up until the end. If you remember, I told you that we're making a product, we're gonna sell it, so we have to make it for the market. We have to have marketing plans when we want to sell something to the market. So the marketing plans for a game could differ from one game to another. There are some common ways when indie developers, indie game makers, or small companies goes to, or even the big companies goes for that they have. Some of them are the campaigns, some of them are social medias, some of them are teaser trailers or teasers. Depend on your budget, depend on your marketing strategy, you will go for each of them or all of them together. Together, we're going to watch Gris teaser trailer. If up until now you didn't convince to play this game after watching this teaser trailer, I believe that you're convinced that you have to go and buy this game and play it. It's so beautiful. I want to play it again. Let's see who worked for this. Let's see who made this game and who was behind making this game. We'll talk about people, roles, and responsibilities. I don't remember if I mentioned at first that there were about 30 people working. The base team of the game was 40 people working for Nomada Studio, and then when I checked the cast list, there were about 50 people. Contains developers, publisher, musicians, and other people that made this game. Such a small team and very big project that they did. I'd really say congratulations to them. So let's go to see who worked for this game and get familiar with roles. There are some common roles in games like directors, producers, animators, as it is a 2D game. Level designers. So if you want to go for 3D games, there are other roles that would be added to the game, but we're going to talk about 2D game now. So a producer, as I've already told you, is responsible for the steps of making a project, the communication between the teams, the communication between the teams and clients, sponsors or publishers, also responsible for planning, budgeting, and making schedules and delivering the project. And then director is responsible for whole the look of game, the idea of game, and how the game should be at the end, and the steps, and put together everything, and the stories, the art, the gameplay, and all of it should be checked with director. And art director is responsible for the visuality of the game. I don't know if visuality is the right word I'm using, but it's the visual parts. And the technical director is responsible for any software that team needs, supporting teams for their software, for the codes they need, for the programmings that they need. And all these people are working together. Producers, directors should work together to make the game. There are some people in team that come and go, and like animators, like level designers. As I already told you about animation, there are some animators responsible for making a rough and tie down, and other for clean up ink and color. So, and also the level designers are responsible for making the levels and have the whole idea of the act. Alongside all of them, there are some people do the drawings and make the assets that called environment or background artists, that making the backgrounds or assets for the level. So these are some main roles that I wanted you to know about the responsibility. As a manager, it's very important for you to know the responsibility of people and who should work with I mean their back and forth and interaction of their work with each other, like what I said about directors and producer, about animator with directors, about animator with level designers, with programmer. All these people will work together, and you should know the how they relate together, and who should report to what, who should report to who, and how should they work together. So this way you can prioritize their tasks, and also manage your meetings when a problem comes, or even when a decision, when you want to make a decision. If you want to, from the beginning, that you want to plan the project, then you go for your backlogs, then you go for in the retro plannings, and also based on a management style that you work. If you're working in a scrum, at the end of the sprint, the beginning of a sprint, based on a management method that you're working. I'm not gonna talk about it now. It's better to know the relation. So now that we know all of this, we know about the roles, we know about the people, and we want to make planning for this game. This part is very important for me to talk about managing a project. But as there are tons of ways that you can manage a project, I'll go to two main parts that we see around us, and I want to give you idea that which one is better and why. But before I'm going to that, and as I hate dictating people what should they do, I'm going to bring you some idea that you think yourself. How can you manage your project? That you make a decision that based on what you have, you go make your project. So let's consider it like this: you know about what you want, you know about your goal, you have your roadmap, you know about the people that you have, and also you know about the roles that you need. You know that what step that you have, you know that you have 3 years of making, and you know that what roles you need. You put them all together in a table, and based on human intuition, you will divide and do some calculation and divide your time based on what steps that you want to have. Imagine that you don't know about the teams, about the relations, about the prioritization that I already told you, and you want to just make a plan. So, based on a pipeline, you go and put all the steps on your schedule. Based on your timeline, you could divide your time. If you want to make it for 3 years, you have 36 months making your project. Now you're dividing your time to the number of work that you want to do. And you see, roughly, you may come to this end that you have 2 months making this game. I'm just telling you roughly, you could do the calculation yourself. Now you put together all of this and the steps, and you see that so you're telling that, okay, I'll go finish this job and have 2 months for this, and after finishing that I'll go to next step. After finishing the second, I'll go to third, and you'll go up until the end and making the project. It's like what we can call it, like factory made something. And yeah, just like product line that you start from one step to another. It's doable if you think of a product like, for example, imagine you want to make a toy. You have to have plan it, you have to have the concept, you have to send it to machines to make your toy, and then you have to assemble it, and then packaging it and send it to the market. So these are the steps that you're doing for your toys. So this works in this kind of production. You start from one point and end it at the another point. Your steps are followed each other. Second step follow the first step and goes to the end. So based on what we see, based on what we know, based on our intuition, so believe that we want to make a product, we want to send it to the market. So it's doable making this project step by step, finishing one part and sending it to another part. Now our plan is our timeline, like as you see here, like this. And what about people who want to work, and what about the budgeting plan? If you are not experienced producer, if you have no idea, you should call some people to see and tell them that you have this amount of work in 2 months. And remember that 2 months come from those calculations. And ask them about their estimation that you have 2 months, if that's enough for them. If not, you would add other people. So for example, if they telling that the animation gets 6 months, you think and you're calculating that, okay, you have 2 months, so you need 3 animators. You give their answers. Some of them comes to you and tell you that, like me as a producer, telling you that, no, I can't work for 2 months, I should be in whole project, or the directors. You may come to this and that, okay, you could stay, or say, no, I have not enough money. You come and make your plan and budgeting and give it to me, and I will take care of other steps myself. Depends on what you make decision, and depends on a very basic planning like a factory and product line. You would have this budget planning. You will see here the chunk of money that you spend in each part, and also your timeline alongside the budgeting. This one is before tax, and also the cutscenes is not shown here. I'm just gonna show you roughly how can you plan your project. And yeah, you see here that you have this kind of budget and this amount of project, and you believe that you can go make it. But if you're asking me, and if you remember that there are some people told you that they should be in all parts, and also there is a problem here that we're going to make a creative work with people. We're not working in factory, we're not working in machine. The machines are not gonna make our work. There are people, they are creative, they want to have their own idea, They want to talk about their idea, they want to discuss it, they want to make some parts better, or delete and remove some parts and on some other part. uh, this is what you have in your basket. uh, your assumptions are your tasks, your pipeline, and also the machines that are going to work for you to make that are humans, which are creatives, and the managing them is different than machines. They're going them, okay, you go make, they're not operators, they are creatives. They want to, every person has their own idea. And also the pace of working from one person to another is different. For example, you can't tell that if you want to make an animation with that you have 3 months or 6 months, you need three people. Why? Because there are the pace. Even if they give you the final result, the same final result, their pace would be different. So, for example, one of them would do it in 3 months, one of them in 1 month, one of them in whole 6 months. You shouldn't know that when one start and when one end, and you couldn't expect them to do uh, to act like a machine, to be like a robot and work like a robot for you. So uh, now that we know all of it now, and also when you what I want to tell you is that when you want to make a plan for a project, you have to work on your assumptions. So your assumption here is your pipeline, your budget, your timeline. Also, uh, who wants to work and make your project for you are humans that are creative. And there's another thing, some parts should be done simultaneously. Why? They have back and forth to each other. For example, you want to make your animation, you want to make your animation, you want to test it, send it to the level. The level designer would check it and send it to the programmer. Then programmer comes and asks you to some changes on your animation, and also you ask the programmer to change some steps, and also and you will see these back and forth. And then for other parts, for making the script, for having the concepts, for having the music, sound effects, and all these steps have back and forth together. So you will see that in your basket of assumption, there's another thing, that which part should be done simultaneously. So now that you put alongside all these steps together, you will see a huge difference between what you made the first, what your timeline at the first step, with the timeline, the real timeline that a creative job is done. So you may come to this end that this project needs these people with this time, and also the project, the price would be this. Yes, if you compare these two to each other, the huge difference is here is the budget. Seems like when you go for a creative plan, for a iterative plan, you will need more money. But you may ask yourself that why I can't go for the first plan. I can adjust it to go for the first plan, or I can adjust it to do some parts simultaneously, but not all the parts. Uh, that's a good idea. If you want to make your project, you will see that there are some parts should be done, and then you go for the next step. For example, you see here that you can do your pre-production, then go to production, then go to your testing, and then go for the launching. These parts, maybe you want to finish it and don't get back, so you have to consider that which part should be finished at what time, and which part should stop, and you go for the next step. And what I told you doesn't mean that there are all the parts should work together at the same time. There are some parts that should stop and then you go for the next step. And there are some parts that have back and forth, and it should be done simultaneously. To understand which part you want to stop it, and as it differs from one project to another. But as again, I'm insisting that we're working and we're just analyzing a 2D game like Grace. I'm telling you that let's bring your pipeline, put it together, prioritize it, and check it which one should finish when, and then you go to the next step, and which part you should needs back and forth and should be done simultaneously. So you may come to this end that you see here. There are, for example, your pre-production should finish, then go for production, and then after your production is done, you go for launching your project. As it is a project that you don't want to release a patch and you don't want to support it after that, so this production doesn't have any post-production, it's better for you to finish up the production up until the end and then launching it. So yes, you know how to make your project, but I want to tell you and explain you what I was telling about the first way of making the project and the second way, and compare it together, and you will see that you heard a lot about them in social medias, LinkedIn's, or other or even in the project that you work. When you making a project step by step, finish a step, go to the next step, and there is no way back, like the first plan that we made. We call it a waterfall. It's just like a waterfall. So start from the beginning, the upper side, and goes to the end. There's no way back that the water can jump and back to the first place, that it be from the way that it comes. It's important, from the way that it comes. And the other one, which is iterative, you start some part, you have to finish some to go to the next, but you should do some parts simultaneously, is called iterative plan or agile. So for the agile, you should start from some place, you can end it to some place, and at the but you in between you have to have iterations. For some teams, you have to let your people, the main idea is that because we're working with humans, because our assumptions in the basket is different from the manufacturer, so we have to change our plan. There are tons of ways of agile or waterfall or even the hybrid way that you can make your own project. There is no way that we can say that this one is true or this one is false or this one can 100% answer your needs. And I'm trying to bring up some samples like Gris, and in other videos that I'm gonna make about other games and other styles and also animation and VFX project, to see how can we work on creative project, how can we start, how can we end, and what type of management method we can use. The whole idea of making this video is to talk about management of and this sample shows us managing a 2D game took us 3 years. So if you have an idea for publishing a game like this, if you have these people and these roles, and you can follow this plan for yourself with some tweaks and make your own game, hopefully make your own game. So yes, for now I believe that I told you all about making Gris, making a game like Gris, and I'm hoping that you like this video. For supporting me, please like this video, share it with others. Also, if you have any question, comment under this video. For files, you can see the files on my website that I put the links under this video, and also please subscribe to my channel. I believe that's all for now. Till the next video, bye.